Can you tell us, I just would like to get it on camera a couple of times, the stories about when people punch you?
All right, I've been punched 4 times.
Oh, 4? It was 3 last time we talked.
Yeah, 4. It's been 4.
Okay.
So I've been punched in Idaho, punched in Montana, punched in Washington, and punched in Colorado. Did I say Colorado? Montana, Colorado, Idaho, Washington. The first time was at the University of Idaho, and it was a little bit funny. So I just started reading the Bible. A friend of mine preached before. We didn't have a crowd, and then it was my turn to preach. And so I was just reading from Psalm 24. Hadn't really preached yet, said anything, just literally reading Psalm 24, and a girl's beeline it to me. And she literally is wearing combat boots and just like kind of a hardcore feminist. And she's coming straight at me. She's walking at me, and she just yells out, "You're judgmental!" And I was like, "What did I say? It's judgmental." She said, "You want to take away a woman's right to choose?" And I said, "I haven't talked about taking away anybody's right of doing anything." So we start going back and forth with the little one-liners. And after a few minutes, and the crowd's just building. And so people are kind of laughing. I thought it was kind of fun and stuff like that. And apparently she wasn't having as much fun as I did, because she runs out of things to say, and she goes, "You know what? You're an ignorant pedophile." And I say, "Well, I think when you say something like that, you're dealing with your own issues out here." And then she just wallops me at that point. And then she winds up to hit me again, and I kind of go like, "Whoa," go running away. Yeah, I kind of run away from her. And after running away from her, she starts to turn around and walk through the crowd. And I thought I'd be funny, and I say, "Oh, even though you're a feminist, you still hit like a girl." And everybody booed me. So, well, some people laughed, but majority was kind of like, "Boo." But I thought it was pretty funny. So it ended up being a good, fruitful day.
And when that happens, do you take that as confirmation that things have gone well?
No. I honestly, anytime something like that happens, if the day ever goes sideways, I evaluate myself. You know what I mean? Like, all right, could I have said, like, she probably was dealing with her own issues, and I probably didn't need to say, when you say something like that, you're dealing with your own issues. I think it was true, but did I need to say that? So I usually, if I'm preaching on a day on campus, and I think it just totally goes sideways, obviously, the scriptures tell us that if you're going to be persecuted, you're going to be rejected. If they rejected Jesus, they're going to reject you. So I think those things, that has to be central part of our categories, because in many people in the American church right now, if anything goes sideways, well, we just haven't loved like Jesus. Right. Jesus says the world hates me because I testify what they do is evil. So if we're being like Jesus, we have to testify what the world does is evil. But I have a tendency to assume that I probably did something wrong. If it really went sideways, did I do something wrong? And so I try to assess myself. So it's not confirmation, but the place where I feel like I would have confirmation, just the truth of Christianity and kind of my day and all that sort of stuff, is when I'm preaching on campus and you see groups yoking against me that would not normally in theoretically yoke together. So if you have hardcore Muslims yoking with a feminist against a Christian, you begin to look at that and be like, why are such strange bedfellows against this? And their common rejection would be obviously the truth of Jesus Christ and who he is and stuff like that.
And when you're evaluating yourself, do you have other accountability folks to talk through with them about the issues?
Yeah, so I have a couple guys who I talk through most things. A lot of days I'm with other people, so it's the people who I'm with immediately, I could have done. But oftentimes with street preachers, I don't always trust their assessment, because I feel like oftentimes they're, "Oh no, you did everything just fine." Like, I don't think so. You know what I mean? And so it's almost like we never do anything wrong.
Check.
Yeah, we get a kind of a blank check, and they're just bad people, and we're told we're going to be persecuted. So if anything goes sideways, oftentimes with other street preachers, I feel like it's so easy that they're pretty quick to pawn it off on the crowd or the people and just their objection to the gospel. But we're supposed to answer people with gentleness and respect. So there are other guys outside.
And when you're street preaching, you try to have somebody else with you.
Yeah,
your preference.
Most campuses I go to, not always someone who's going to preach, just because I don't mind preaching with other people. But when you start to preach and you get a crowd, it's like anything. If a coach changes on a team, it changes the dynamics of the team. And so if you're tagging in people back and forth preaching-wise, it changes the dynamics of the crowd. And so if I build a crowd, they've gathered there based on my personality type of thing, and then you tag someone else in, a lot of people could dissipate, and vice versa. So I get tagged in after someone else has been preaching, and they're used to kind of people talk about certain things and preach about certain things, and then I come in, and it just kind of changes the dynamic. So I like having people with me from a standpoint of pointing people off on the sides, or even interacting with Christians. Christians interacting with students who are, kind of off on the side, maybe being quiet, listening, or walking away. So most campuses, I have connections with people that I just, at least loose affiliations, you know what I mean? Whereas just I don't love preaching with other people from the standpoint of, I guess it's kind of a both end. If I really trust the other people, I like preaching with other people, because it just adds a dynamic to the day that's, you kind of preach with more confidence. I also think I preach a little bit differently. If I think I'm going to preach for an hour before tagging somebody in, my disposition's different. You know what I mean? Whereas it's the difference between running a sprint and a marathon. So if I'm marathoning the day where I'm like, all right, I'm getting out here at noon, my goal is to go to 5 o'clock, you just kind of preach a different way. So you're trying to get a crowd, get an interaction going, whereas if I'm preaching with somebody else, I'm still trying to get a crowd, but I'm not thinking I'm going to be out here for the next 4 hours. I'm thinking I have 1 hour before I tag in my friend. The next changeover, I'm going to tag him in, and that just kind of sets up certain dynamics.